Hey again. In this video, we're going to cover everything about deals and requests. So let's jump straight in. As we've touched in the previous videos, we can discover potential link partners through our campaigns, and they then show themselves the potential through our suggestions. And as we saw before, suggestions we can see on three different levels. We can see at an account level, where we see all the linking suggestions across all of our domains. We can also see suggestions at a domain level. So this is all the link suggestions just for this specific domain. Or indeed, we can even jump down to a campaign level and see link suggestions just for a specific campaign. Irrespective of what level of suggestions we're looking at, the view remains the same in that we're going to see the potential link partner, we're going to see the details of what they're willing to offer and the content that we can link to or from. So let's choose one of these and deal with the request. As we can see, with every suggestion, there's always a request button. When we select that, we're going to see a little pop-up that's going to show us the different linking options that we have based on the availability of that domain. So in this case, we can see the specific URL that we're looking at in this case because it's a suggestion from an AI campaign. We can see that they're not open for giving backlinks to their site from us. So we can't give them a backlink. But if we're looking to receive a backlink, that is an option that's available to us from this domain. You can see in this case, we can request a backlink to our domain from their domain. We know it's going to be from this URL, and we can see how many credits that's going to cost us. And additionally, we can also see that they're open for providing guest posts if we wanted to feature a guest post from our domain on theirs. But let's just focus on a backlink for this example. And I'm going to choose the option to make request. And we can see all of the details that have already been defined from the AI campaign. So in this case, we can see the URL that we defined in the AI campaign, and we can see the keyword that the content was discovered on. And then further down, we can also see the specific URL that where we found, and we know that this keyword already exists, and we already know that this URL is indexed in the search engine result pages, so therefore we know it's a great candidate for giving us some link value. In addition to that, we can also see the key stats of this domain in terms of its current monthly traffic, its domain rating, and the category it sits in, as well as the guidelines that are specific to this domain. So we can check the guidelines. We know that it's already a good match from a content perspective. And we can also see, importantly, how many credits we're going to spend. Now, we only spend these credits when we've both agreed, both parties, our domain and the kind of domain we're sending the request to. Once we've both agreed the dynamics of the deal, then that's how many credits we're going to spend. So at this point, we can just send the request to the user, get confirmation that's been sent. When we jump over to the deals tab, we can see all the deals that are presently in play. At this point, obviously we've pushed the deal to the other domain owner, and it's for them to either to accept or reject the deal. When we hover over this status button, we can see exactly the present status. In this case, we can see awaiting action from the owner of the domain. So there's nothing for us to do at this point. If we do have further questions, we can open a chat here, and that will allow us to message the domain owner directly and ask questions about the deal. At this point, there's nothing else for us to do on this deal other than wait. Let's jump back to suggestions and go through the same process, but in this case for a guest post. So I'm going to choose a different suggestion. I'm going to click request. In this case, I'm going to switch over for it to be a guest post request. I'm going to click request. And here, there's a slightly different process. Obviously, it's not going to be a specific URL because it's going to be a new URL based on our guest post. So first of all, we see their guest post guidelines. That's the kind of the writing style that we need to adhere to get published on their site. So now what we can do is we can provide a post title. So this is the title of the guest post that we're going to write, and also the pitch in terms of what we would like to write about. Once we've written our pitch, We can also see on the right hand side, again, the metrics for this domain in terms of the category, the traffic and the domain rating, and also importantly, the number of credits it's going to cost us to be able to publish this guest post on this domain. Once we're happy with all those elements, again, we click send pitch, and that's going to send that request to them. And of course, again, it's going to appear in our deals tab. And again, here we can see it in the deals tab, and we can see the type here compared to the previous request we made, which was for an incoming link to our domain. In this case, it's going to be a guest post that we're going to post on their site for us. And again, we can see that is presently awaiting the action of the owner of the other domain. So nothing for us to do at this point other than wait. And again, of course, we can open the chat, and if we want to discuss anything, any further requirements for that deal. Once the other user has received that request, there's a couple of options that they may choose to do. They can either accept it, reject it. Of course, we will be notified of either of those, or alternatively, they may also choose to suggest an alternative URL. It may be that that specific URL is not the most relevant based on the keywords we've selected, and so they may choose to select a different URL. If that's the case, then we're going to receive an email that's going to look something like this. In this case, we can see the domain that's coming from, the domain, our domain that the link would be coming to, and it's obviously highlighting the fact it's an alternative URL suggestion. And we can see the actual URL that our link would be placed, and we can choose to either suggest another alternative or approve that. Clicking any of these buttons will take us back into the platform, and it's going to load that deal. And in this case, we can see obviously the domain that's going to provide us the link. We can see the keyword that we're going to be placed on the article, and the location of where that keyword is going to be linked to, in this case on our own domain. At this point, if we wanted to, we could either approve the URL that they've suggested, the alternative URL, or we could search for another URL and then put it back to them and say we want to suggest a different URL. Simply doing this search URL option here is going to do a Google search just for that domain, and it's going to find lots of different URL alternatives. And I'm just going to copy a link address here, go back to the platform, and I'm going to say suggest alternative URL. If I couldn't find an alternative URL and I didn't like the one they were suggesting, of course I can copy that and look at that in the browser as well. I can just decide to reject that deal and then choose the reason for that. Maybe there's no appropriate content or whatever that may be. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest the alternative URL that we've seen, that we found in the search, because obviously we want something that's indexed, and I'm going to send that request. And now that request is pushed back to them. We're going to see the request again in our deals tab. And again, of course, we can see that that's pending. And that's very simple how it works. The whole process of doing deals and making requests is we send a request to the other domain owner. They either accept or reject. Once we have a double opt-in, then the credits for the deal are put in a three-way escrow. And then when the deal is approved, we will release the credits to the user who's provided the link. So very safe, very secure, total peace of mind. It's a very simple process. I'm sure you're going to love it. In the next video, we're going to delve into the credits and how the credit system works. And again, covering a little bit more about the peace of mind that the platform provides. Looking forward to catching the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.